He announced our divorce at our daughter's graduation dinner, in front of 50 people. What he didn't know, I'd already filed the papers that morning, and the prenup he forced me to sign 28 years ago, it's about to destroy him. The words hung in the air of the upscale restaurant like toxic smoke. I have decided to start a new life without you. Gregory, my husband of nearly 3 decades, stood there with his champagne glass still raised high. The bubbles were still fizzing. His announcement had violently displaced the toast he was supposed to be making to our daughter Amelia's academic achievements. The clinking of expensive silverware ceased instantly. Conversations halted mid-sentence. The silence was sudden and absolute. 50 pairs of eyes darted frantically between Gregory and me. They were waiting for the explosion. They were waiting for my reaction. They wanted the tears. They wanted the shouting match. They wanted the dramatic exit that everyone expected from a woman scorned. Instead, I smiled. Congratulations on your honesty, Gregory. My name is Bianca Caldwell. I am 54 years old. Until this precise second, I had been playing the role of the devoted wife and mother to absolute perfection. I was the woman who put her own career aspirations on ice to support Gregory through 3 risky business ventures. I was the rock who stood by him through 2 chaotic career changes. I was the patient soul who endured his countless finding himself phases while I kept the lights on. I raised our brilliant daughter, Amelia, who sat beside me right now. Her graduation cap was still perched on her head. Her expression was frozen in a mask of pure horror. She looked like she was watching a car crash in slow motion. From the corner of my eye, I tracked the room. I could see Cassandra Wells. She was Gregory's much younger girlfriend. She was shifting uncomfortably at the back table. She sat with people I had considered close friends for decades, the same friends who apparently knew about the affair for months but never thought to tell me, the same Cassandra who had attended our Christmas parties, the same woman who had once called me for mentorship advice about her career. She looked terrified. Good. With practiced calm, I reached into my designer handbag. My fingers brushed against the cool, smooth paper inside. I pulled out a sealed, cream-colored envelope. It was thick, heavy. I placed it gently beside Gregory's dinner plate. The sound of the envelope hitting the tablecloth seemed deafening in the silent room. "What is this?" he asked. His triumphant expression faltered. His brow furrowed. "Something for you to read later," I replied. My voice was steady, ice cold. I turned to Amelia. Her face had gone pale, all the blood draining away. I kissed her cheek tenderly. "I am so proud of you, sweetheart. This day is still about your accomplishment. Never forget that." Then I stood. I smoothed the fabric of my dress. I addressed our stunned guests with the grace of a queen addressing her subjects. "Please enjoy your meal. I wish you all a lovely afternoon." With that, I walked out of the restaurant. My head was held high. I could feel 50 pairs of eyes burning holes into my back. I could feel the shock waves following me. The heavy mahogany door swung shut behind me, cutting off the beginning of the anxious murmurs. Outside, the Augusta summer heat hit me like a physical wall. It was oppressive and thick, but I welcomed it. For the first time in years, I could breathe freely. The air tasted like freedom. Behind me, I heard the restaurant door fly open and slam shut. Then came the footsteps. Then came Gregory's voice. It was no longer confident. It was high-pitched, frantic. "Bianca, what the hell is this? What have you done?" I kept walking. I allowed myself a small, dangerous smile. The envelope I had handed him contained the beginning of my revenge. It was a revenge I had been meticulously planning for months. I had always been the practical one in our marriage. While Gregory dreamed big and took reckless risks, I maintained the stability our family needed to survive. I was the one who saved every penny for Amelia's education when Gregory invested unwisely in his friend's failing restaurant venture. I was the one who worked exhausting extra hours at a finance manager at Truvant Corp when his midlife crisis led him to quit his stable position to follow his passion for selling handcrafted furniture. A passion that lasted approximately 6 months before he grew bored and moved on to the next shiny object. My own dreams of opening a financial consultancy for women were perpetually on hold. After Amelia graduates, I told myself. After Gregory finds stability, I told myself. 3 months ago, everything changed. I noticed discrepancies in our joint accounts, small transfers, tiny amounts that most people would miss. But I don't miss things. I saw transfers to an account I didn't recognize. Having spent 20 years managing our family finances, these irregularities stood out like neon red flags. I could have confronted Gregory immediately. I could have screamed. I could have demanded answers. But something held me back. Perhaps it was intuition. Perhaps it was the growing distance between us over the past year. Instead, I stayed silent. I began quietly investigating. What I discovered was worse than I imagined. Gregory had been systematically moving funds to a separate account for over a year. He was siphoning off our future. He had also been taking Cassandra to expensive 5-star restaurants. He was purchasing diamond jewelry. He was looking at beachfront property in Savannah. He was doing all of this while telling me we needed to tighten our belts for retirement. He was pleading poverty to me while spending a fortune on her. Then came the text messages. I discovered them when Gregory left his phone unlocked on the kitchen counter. I read them all. Messages about their new life together. Messages about how he was finally breaking free from the old ball and chain. Messages about their plans for the day after Amelia's graduation. That was the day he had chosen to make his grand exit from our marriage. He wanted to wait until the last tuition check cleared. What Gregory had forgotten, or perhaps never fully grasped, was my skill set. I had been a financial professional for 30 years. I understood money trails better than he understood his own desires. I knew how to trace assets across state lines, and most importantly, I remembered the prenuptial agreement we had signed 28 years ago. Back then, I had more family money than he did. My father insisted on the agreement. Gregory had insisted upon it too, ironically, to protect his future earnings. He thought he was going to be the next Steve Jobs. That agreement contained a fidelity clause, a very specific, very harsh fidelity clause. It would prove to be his undoing. While Gregory plotted his escape with Cassandra, I was building my case. I consulted with shark-like attorneys. I documented every hidden transfer. I took screenshots of every text. I gathered irrefutable evidence of their affair. I prepared the divorce papers. I timed everything perfectly. I knew Gregory would want to wait until after Amelia's graduation to avoid ruining her big day. What he didn't expect was that I would serve the divorce papers the morning of the graduation. I filed them electronically. They were in the system before his toast began. But with the papers still safely hidden in court records, not yet accessible to him, he walked into that restaurant blind. What Gregory didn't know was that I was always 3 steps ahead. I didn't return to the restaurant. Instead, I got into my car and drove to our home. It was a spacious colonial in Augusta's historic district that we had purchased 15 years ago. It was the house that Gregory had already promised to Cassandra, according to a text message I had read. Messages that he didn't realize I had seen. I parked in the driveway and calmly entered what had been our shared space for over a decade. Everything looked the same. The family photos on the wall smiled back at me. The antique grandfather clock that had been my father's ticked rhythmically. The worn leather couch where Gregory and I had once dreamed of our future together sat in the living room. Yet everything had changed. The air felt different. I went upstairs to the master bedroom. I opened the closet. Gregory's clothing was already packed in suitcases. They were hidden in the back, behind his winter coats. He was ready for his planned departure tomorrow. I smiled at his predictability. He had always been meticulous about his clothing, but careless about the important things. My phone buzzed incessantly. Messages flooded in from friends at the restaurant, messages from Amelia, even messages from Gregory's sister, Diana, who had flown in for the graduation. I responded only to my daughter. I am okay. This is not your burden to carry. Enjoy your graduation day. We will talk tonight. I love you. I had protected Amelia from the truth for months. I didn't want to overshadow her final semester with family drama. She would be angry that I hadn't told her, I knew that, but I knew she would understand eventually. Amelia had inherited my practicality along with her father's charisma. It was a powerful combination that had helped her graduate with honors. 3 hours later, I heard Gregory's car scream into the driveway. The front door slammed open with enough force to shake the frame. "Bianca!" he shouted. His voice echoed through the house. "Where are you?" I was sitting in the living room. I was calmly reviewing documents on my laptop. I closed it slowly as he stormed in. His face was flushed with anger. Veins bulged in his neck. The cream-colored envelope was clutched in his hand like a weapon. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded. He waved the papers in the air. "You served me with divorce papers today, of all days?" "I thought it aligned nicely with your plans," I replied calmly. "You wanted to start your new life. I am simply helping facilitate the transition." "You had no right to do this." "I had every right," I interrupted him. My voice was steady. "Just as you had every right to choose Cassandra. We all make choices, Gregory." "The prenup expired years ago," he said. His voice suddenly turned smug. He puffed out his chest. "Any lawyer will tell you that." I allowed myself a small smile. Actually, it didn't. Section 12 specifically states that the Fidelity clause remains in effect for the duration of the marriage. Your lawyer should have explained that to you. "Oh, wait, you didn't consult one, did you?" The color drained from his face as reality sank in. The prenup he had insisted upon to protect his potential wealth would now cost him everything. The house, the vacation property in Savannah, his portion of our retirement accounts. His grand gesture at the restaurant had just become the most expensive announcement of his life. "You can't do this to me," Gregory said. He collapsed onto the couch. He looked like a deflated balloon. "We built this life," I replied, "though not in the way you planned." Gregory's phone buzzed persistently in his pocket. He glanced at it, then ignored it. Cassandra, no doubt. She was wondering where he was. She was wondering why he wasn't following their carefully orchestrated plan. "You have always been calculating, Bianca, but this is cold," he said. He was trying a different approach now. He was playing the victim. "What about our history? 28 years together means nothing to you?" I studied him. This man I had loved for nearly 3 decades. The man who had held my hand through 2 miscarriages before we had Amelia. The man who had once surprised me with a weekend trip to Charleston for our 10th anniversary. When had he changed? Or had he always been this person? Had I been too devoted to notice the rot beneath the surface? "Our history meant everything to me," I answered truthfully. "That is why your betrayal hurt so deeply." His expression softened momentarily. He saw an opening. "Then maybe we can fix this. I made a mistake. People make mistakes, Bianca." This wasn't a mistake, Gregory. This was a calculated plan spanning more than a year. You systematically moved our money. You looked at property with her. You planned to announce our separation publicly to humiliate me. His face hardened again. "You are exaggerating." "Am I?" I picked up my phone. I opened the recording app. I pressed play. Gregory's voice filled the room. "After the graduation, I'll tell her it's over. A public setting is better. She won't make a scene in front of everyone." Then Cassandra's voice. "And she has no idea about the money?" Gregory again. "None. Bianca trusts me completely. That's her weakness." The blood drained from his face. He looked sick. "You recorded our conversations? That is illegal." "Not in Georgia when one party consents," I responded, "and not when it is in your own home. I didn't record your private moments with Cassandra. I am not cruel. Just the conversations about your plans to defraud me." Gregory stood suddenly. He was agitated, pacing. "I need to make some calls." "Of course," I said. "Your attorney might be a good start. I will be staying at Diana's tonight." "Diana's?" he sputtered. "My sister's house?" I nodded. "She is quite upset with you, actually. She was the one who first spotted you and Cassandra together last Christmas. She didn't tell me immediately. She confronted you first. You promised her it was nothing. You promised her that you would end it. When she realized you hadn't, she came to me." This was another blow he hadn't anticipated. Diana and I had always been close, but Gregory never imagined his own sister would choose my side. "Everyone is betraying me," he muttered. "Ironic, isn't it?" I gathered my purse and a small overnight bag I had packed earlier. "You have until tomorrow evening to remove your things from the house. After that, the locks will be changed." As I headed toward the door, Gregory called after me. Desperation leaked into his voice. "What about Amelia? Have you thought about how this affects her?" I paused. Anger finally broke through my calm facade. "Don't you dare use our daughter as a shield, Gregory. You certainly weren't thinking about her when you were planning your new beachfront life with Cassandra." His phone buzzed again. This time he looked at it and groaned. "Problem?" I asked. "Cassandra is at the apartment already. She has moved her things in." I couldn't help but smile. "The apartment you put in both your names? The lease you signed last month?" Gregory nodded. He looked confused. "You might want to check with the leasing office. That application was flagged for credit issues and never completed. The agent called our home phone to verify information. I handled it myself." I walked out the door. I left Gregory to face the first of many consequences. His perfectly planned new life was unraveling faster than he could process. Diana lived in a charming bungalow across town. It was close to the university where she taught literature. When I arrived, she greeted me with a fierce hug. "I just heard from Amelia," she said. She pulled me inside. "Are you okay?" "I am better than I expected," I admitted. I followed her to the kitchen. A bottle of wine was already open. "I never thought Gregory would make such a spectacle," Diana said. She poured 2 glasses. "The restaurant, in front of everyone. He has lost his mind." "It was meant to humiliate me," I explained. I accepted the glass. A public rejection, so I couldn't fight back without looking hysterical. Diana's face darkened. My brother always did have a flair for drama, but this is beyond anything I expected from him. We settled in her sunroom. It was surrounded by potted plants and bookshelves. Diana had never married. She preferred her independence and academic pursuits. Over the years, I had sometimes envied her freedom. "What did you put in that envelope that made him so upset?" she asked. I explained the contents, the divorce file, the evidence of his financial deception, and most importantly, the prenuptial agreement that would leave him with far less than he had planned. "The prenup?" Diana mused. She laughed bitterly. "I remember when he insisted on it. Father had just given him that money for his first business, and he was so worried about protecting it. The irony is delicious." My phone rang. It was Amelia. I took a deep breath before answering. "Mom," she said immediately. Her voice was strained. "I am coming over to Aunt Diana's." "Honey, you don't have to. I am already on my way," she interrupted. "Dad is telling everyone you have lost your mind. He is saying horrible things." Of course he was. Gregory always rewrote narratives to cast himself as the victim. "Let him talk," I said. "The truth will become clear soon enough." 20 minutes later, Amelia arrived. She was still in her graduation dress. Her makeup was smudged from crying. She fell into my arms like she used to after a nightmare. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked. Her voice was muffled against my shoulder. "I didn't want to ruin your final semester," I explained. "You worked so hard for this day. Well, Dad took care of ruining it anyway." We moved to Diana's living room. Amelia finally got the full story. I told her how I had discovered the affair. I told her about the financial deceptions. I told her about the plans Gregory and Cassandra had made. "I knew something was off with Dad," Amelia admitted. "He has been different, distracted. always on his phone. But I never imagined this. None of us want to see these things in people we love, Diana said gently. My phone buzzed with a text message from Philip Anderson, my attorney. The e-filing had been approved. The accounts I had identified were frozen pending the divorce proceedings. Gregory now had limited access to funds. He had enough for living expenses, but not enough to follow through on the property purchases he had planned with Cassandra. I showed the message to Diana and Amelia. Good, Amelia said firmly. He deserves it. My daughter's loyalty warmed me, but I wasn't naive. He is still your father, I reminded her. Your relationship with him is separate from what is happening between us. Amelia shook her head. Maybe someday. But right now, I can't even look at him. He hugged me this morning and told me how proud he was, all while planning to blow up our family hours later. The doorbell rang. It interrupted our conversation. Diana went to answer it. She returned moments later with a troubled expression. It's Gregory, she said, and he is not alone. I steeled myself. Diana led Gregory and Cassandra into the living room. Cassandra looked uncomfortable. She shifted her weight from one foot to the other. Her eyes darted around the room. She was 37, not exactly a trophy wife, but still 17 years my junior. She had shoulder-length blonde hair and the kind of confidence that comes from never having faced real hardship. Gregory, by contrast, looked furious. His earlier desperation had hardened into anger. Bianca, you need to stop this insanity, he demanded. Unfreeze the accounts. We can discuss this like reasonable adults. Amelia stood up. She placed herself slightly in front of me. Maybe you should have tried being reasonable before announcing to everyone that you were leaving Mom. Gregory's eyes widened. It was as if he was just noticing our daughter in the room. Amelia, this doesn't involve you. Doesn't involve me? She echoed incredulously. You blew up our family on my graduation day, and it doesn't involve me? Cassandra touched Gregory's arm. Greg, maybe we should go. He shook her off. No, I am not leaving until Bianca agrees to be rational about this. Diana folded her arms. My sister-in-law seems to be the only rational person in this scenario. You are the one who created this mess, Gregory. I remained seated. I watched the drama unfold. For years, I had been the peacemaker. I was the one who smoothed over conflicts and kept everyone happy. That role was exhausting. I had finally set it down. The accounts will remain frozen until the preliminary hearing, I said calmly. That is in 3 days. The judge will determine appropriate asset division at that time. 3 days? Gregory sputtered. What am I supposed to do for 3 days? You have your personal account, I reminded him. The one you have been funneling money into for the past year. That should be sufficient. Cassandra's head whipped toward Gregory. You have a separate account? With how much in it? An interesting dynamic was emerging. Clearly, Gregory hadn't been entirely forthcoming with Cassandra either. Gregory ignored her question. This is vindictive, Bianca. This isn't like you. Perhaps you never really knew me, I replied, just as I apparently never really knew you. Amelia shook her head. Did you know he was going to announce it like that at my graduation celebration? Cassandra had the decency to look ashamed. I thought he was going to talk to your mother privately. The announcement today was unexpected. Gregory shot her a betrayed look. Cracks were already forming in their united front. I think you both should leave, Diana said firmly. You have upset Amelia enough for one day. Amelia, Gregory pleaded, you understand that relationships change, don't you? Sometimes people grow apart. My daughter's face hardened in a way I had never seen before. What I understand is that you are a coward who couldn't even give Mom the dignity of a private conversation. What I understand is that you were stealing from our family while I was working 2 jobs to help pay for my textbooks because you said money was tight. Gregory paled. That's not how it was. It is exactly how it was, Amelia cut him off. Please leave, Dad. I can't look at you right now. The silence that followed was deafening. Finally, Gregory turned to go. Cassandra trailed behind him at the door. He paused and looked back at me. This is not over, Bianca. I will fight you on this. I met his gaze steadily. You are welcome to try. After Bull left, Amelia collapsed next to me on the sofa. Tears streamed down her face. I have never talked to Dad like that. I wrapped my arm around her shoulders. Sometimes standing up for what is right is painful. Diana brought us fresh glasses of wine. To new beginnings, she said. She raised her glass. Indeed, I thought this ending was just the beginning of something new. The preliminary hearing took place in a small courtroom on a rainy Tuesday morning. I arrived with my attorney, Philip. Gregory came with a lawyer he had hastily retained. It was a young associate from a firm that specialized in corporate law, not family matters. Gregory's poor choice of representation was yet another consequence of his rushed planning. The judge was an older woman with sharp eyes and no patience for dramatics. She reviewed the prenuptial agreement carefully. "This document appears to be in order," she said. She looked over her reading glasses at Gregory's attorney. "Do you contest its validity?" The young lawyer cleared his throat. "Your Honor, we believe the agreement has expired due to the length of time that has passed. Section 18 clearly states that the duration is for the term of the marriage plus any legal proceedings resulting from its dissolution." The judge read aloud. "There is no expiration date indicated." Gregory leaned forward to whisper urgently to his lawyer. The lawyer looked increasingly uncomfortable. Furthermore, the judge continued, "The evidence of systematic fund transfers appears to violate the financial disclosure requirements in Section 23. She shuffled through the papers. Then she looked up. "I am ruling to maintain the freeze on joint accounts pending full financial discovery. Mr. Caldwell's personal account will remain accessible to him. The family home will remain in Mrs. Caldwell's possession during proceedings, as stipulated in the prenuptial agreement's infidelity clause." Gregory's face flushed dark red. "This is outrageous," he muttered, loud enough for me to hear. The judge fixed him with a stern look. "Mr. Caldwell, I suggest you review the agreement you signed more carefully. This court will reconvene in 30 days for the full hearing after discovery is complete." As we left the courtroom, Gregory caught up to me in the hallway. "Bianca, please, we need to talk about this reasonably. 28 years together has to count for something." "It counted for everything," I replied, "until you decided it didn't." I walked away. I left him standing alone in the courthouse corridor. The weight of his choices was finally beginning to sink in. Word spread quickly through our social circle. Friends called daily. Some offered support, others sought gossip. I maintained a dignified silence about the details. I simply said, "Gregory and I are separating. These things happen." Meanwhile, Gregory's carefully constructed facade was crumbling. The image he had created of the successful businessman and devoted family man was tarnished beyond repair. The financial freeze meant he couldn't follow through on promises made to Cassandra. The beachfront property they had been planning to purchase fell through. The luxury car he had put a deposit on had to be canceled. 2 weeks after the hearing, Diana called me. Her voice was tinged with amusement. "Have you heard the latest?" she asked. "Tell me." "Cassandra moved out already." I wasn't entirely surprised, but the speed was impressive. Apparently, she discovered that Gregory's business isn't doing as well as he claimed. The substantial savings he talked about don't exist. She told her friend Jennifer that she didn't sign up to date a man with financial problems. I couldn't help but laugh. He always was good at creating illusions. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding. The financial security I had always maintained, separate from our joint accounts, gave me freedom Gregory hadn't anticipated. I rented a small office space downtown. I began setting up the consultancy I had dreamed about for years. My first clients were 2 women going through divorces of their own. Word of mouth brought more. I specialized in helping women understand their finances during major life transitions, divorce, widowhood, career changes. The work was immediately fulfilling in a way my corporate job never had been. Amelia accepted a job with a marketing firm in Charleston. She called me regularly. "I am so proud of you, Mom," she told me after I described my growing client list. "You are helping people during their worst moments." I am just doing what I wish someone had done for me earlier, I replied, preparing women for whatever might come. Being needed for my expertise rather than my caregiving was a novel and empowering experience. The final divorce hearing fell on what would have been our 29th anniversary, a fitting end to a chapter of my life that had lasted nearly 3 decades. Gregory arrived looking haggard. He had lost weight. I later learned that his business was struggling without my financial support and guidance. Cassandra was long gone. She was already dating a real estate developer from Savannah. Most of our mutual friends had distanced themselves from him. After learning the full story of his deception, the judge upheld the prenuptial agreement in its entirety. Gregory left with his personal possessions. He kept his struggling business. He kept the money in his private account, which, after paying his attorney, was barely enough to secure a small apartment. I retained our home. I kept my retirement accounts. I received 70% of our joint investments, exactly as the prenuptial agreement stipulated in cases of infidelity. The justice was poetic. The very document Gregory had insisted upon to protect himself became his downfall. As we left the courtroom, Gregory approached me one last time. He looked broken. "I made a terrible mistake," he said quietly. "Is there any chance we could—" "No," I interrupted. My voice was gentle but firm. "That door is closed." "I understand," he replied, and for once I believed he did. "I hope you find happiness, Bianca. You deserve it." It was perhaps the first honest thing he had said to me in years. 6 months later, my consultancy, Caldwell Financial Transitions, was thriving. I had moved from the small office to a larger space. I had hired 2 associates. I specialized in helping women secure their financial futures, particularly through major life changes. Amelia visited often. She was proud of what I had built. "You know what's ironic," she said during one visit? "We were sitting on the porch of the house that was now solely mine. If Dad had just been honest from the beginning, he might have kept half of everything." "Sometimes people can't see beyond what they want in the moment," I replied. The woman who had once defined herself as Gregory's wife and Amelia's mother had discovered a new identity: mentor, business owner, advocate. The envelope I had handed Gregory at the restaurant hadn't just been my escape plan. It had been the key to a door I never knew existed. Behind it, I found not just revenge, but reinvention. In securing my financial future, I had also reclaimed something far more valuable: